Is every woman a leader? Our guest today on Excellent Living says yes, no matter her vocation or calling. Deborah Smith Pegues has years of experience as a CPA and vice president in corporate America. She's passionate about inspiring women to embrace their inherent leadership strengths. Deborah advises women on what they can do to excel in her book, Lead Like a Woman. On today's program, we continue Deborah's conversation with our host, Cheryl Martin. We pick up where Deborah shares the role her faith in God plays in expecting to thrive in any work assignment.
Cheryl, I have so many stories about that. Let me tell you, one time I was called to the corporate office in a company where I was the affirmative action hire. And they said, we have sent a team to London. We want you to come over and tell us how we're going to record this transaction when we acquire this company, because we know you're a former venture capitalist and you've done lots of this. I hadn't done it at that multi-billion-dollar level. I'd done it at the $100,000 level. And I kept thinking, is this a trick? Are they trying to just, are they trying to get the girl in a fix here? But let me tell you, to make a long story short, I went to that meeting just praying all the way there. God revealed to me what to say, how to say it. And the man that I was interviewing with was so impressed. I'll never forget it. He leaned forward in his seat and he says, where did you learn all of that? Well, I say, being from Texas, I started to say, rat now, rat here. That's my expectation now, that God is going to reveal what I need to know. So you don't have to be anxious about that. Too much we're limiting God, again, to what we know. And that's going to cause great anxiety, because when you get plugged into this omnipotent, omniscient, always present God, you just know it's, let me just explain this real quickly. When I travel, I'm constantly watching the battery level on my cell phone, because I want to make sure I don't run out of juice before I get to the place where the people need to pick me up and blah, blah, blah. But when I get to the hotel room and plug it in, I'm not running over there every few minutes looking at it. How's it going? How's it going? I have an unlimited source of power. So I go on and, I can go and shower, do whatever I want to do now because I'm connected. And that's what I want to encourage people to do. Stay connected like that. How do you do that? You get into the word, let it get into you. You keep a mindset that says, I am not limited to what I know, who I know, and what my experiences have been.
That's great, Deborah. And I should point out to our listeners, you wrote an entire book on this topic called Supreme Confidence.
Yes. I love talking about that. That's the antidote to self-confidence. Just remember, self is a limited entity. Self can only go so far. And in today's challenges, I need more than self. And so I try hard not to have self-confidence, because I know when it's in myself, I'm going to be limited. I just can't go beyond what all God has called me to do, because my eyes are only focused on the abilities of the self.
Not to mention, Deborah, that self-confidence can steer us in the wrong direction.
Oh, absolutely. Because sometimes we want something so badly, we'll quote, figure it out. And listen, if you're going to really excel, you don't need to figure everything out. You see, we have a wonderful partnership with God. We do the natural. He does the supernatural. So we have this supernatural partnership. I love talking about partnerships as a former venture capitalist, but you just do what you're supposed to do in the natural, and you don't rest your faith there. Yes, you go to school. Yes, you get the degrees. Those things get you in the door. But you know what? Even those things, if God decides he wants you in the door or at the table, he's going to get you there. So you just do your part and stay excited about that. Let God do his part.
Another habit that can hold women back, speaking like a weakling, you say.
Oh, gosh. I can talk all day on that. But listen, we got to learn how to speak up without sounding hostile and bossy and all of those things. And part of that is just even in how how sometimes women introduce themselves and I'm Deborah Pegues and I'm a best-selling author. It's like, listen, even in introducing yourself, there needs to be a certain confidence and finality in it. Listen to this. Hello, I'm Deborah Pegues. Not let the voice fall at the end. That's a statement. And we got to get used to sounding more definite and more confident. Because again, when I talked earlier about people like to do business with people they know, like, and trust, trust doesn't just have to do with integrity. It has to do with they trust your confidence level. They trust your competence. And you do that by how you sound and how you look. And so, but when I talk about speaking like a weakling, we got to get rid of those qualifiers that we use where we say, right, we'll say something and then we'll say, right, Oh, that just drives me, because I'm saying, don't you know? Don't ask us to validate what you just said. Say it with finality, because people need to trust you like that.
I think if women are more conscious of it, and I'm glad you brought that up, that will help. Now, I think this one is a big one: expecting instead of asking.
You know, a lot of us think that if we just put our heads down and work really hard, somebody's going to recognize it and reward us. That's not always true. In fact, it's usually not true in the case of a woman. Women just don't ask because they make the assumption that I'm just going to get rewarded because I did it. Men will ask somebody. I think I mentioned a story in the book. The women, they complained that the men got more internships than they did. So the guy who was in charge of it, he said, well, the men ask. You know, you got to ask for what you want. And you do that because you know you deserve it. Because most of us, we don't have an issue with competence. We have an issue with confidence. So we have the goods. And when you ask for something, particularly a raise, you go in and you don't talk about the fact that you need it. You ask for it because these are the skills that you've shown. These are responsibilities that you have embraced and been assigned, and you've done them well. When I was at a certain company, they made sure they told us to keep an OBM file. What is that? Oh, bad me. They said, keep a list of everything that you had contributed to the company. And when it's time for your review, you haul it out. I worked on this project. These were the results. But see, we're uncomfortable explaining what we've done. I love this woman in Proverbs 31. I know we use her a lot, and she's not a real woman, by the way. Everybody knows that. It's just a list of character traits that a mother is telling her son, these are the traits you want to look for. But in Proverbs 31:18, she says, son, you want a woman who perceives that her merchandise is good. You got to know what you bring to the table, value it yourself, and do that. I know, listen, I've operated in that. I can tell you this really quick story because I know our time is wrapping up. I worked on a project once where there was a gentleman working on it, and he had a responsibility, and I had a key responsibility. They called him into the board meeting and, had him discuss what he'd done, told him to step out, came back, and while they discussed his raise, his bonus, and then said nothing about me. I'm thinking, I can't believe this. I know my contribution has been great. So you know what I did? I just gathered my little papers in my hand and say, listen, I'm just going to step out now and let you discuss my bonus. In fact, I can just go on home since I've already presented my information. It was so, listen.
You planted that idea. You planted that idea.
Oh, no, I more than planted. I just outright said, I'm going to step out now and let you discuss my bonus. Because I'm thinking,
but my point is they had no intentions of doing that before.
Oh, absolutely none. Absolutely none. They're about to go to the next item on the agenda. And I'm thinking like, The Bible says the Proverbs 31 woman opens her mouth with wisdom. Oh, I'm about to open my mouth now. Just God, give me the wisdom. Because I perceive that my merchandise is good here. But the important thing to remember there, Cheryl, is that you have to perceive. She didn't brag that her merchandise was good. You don't go around talking about, I got good merchandise, but you have to know inwardly that I have value. I bring it to the table and it's worth being rewarded for.
And what was the outcome of that?
Same 5-figure bonus, just like the man.
Wow.
Yeah, you got to ask.
That is great.
Yeah, you got to ask, and you got to know that you deserve it. So that's why you pursue excellence, not perfection, because that's one of the tendencies. I know I got stuck on talking about confidence, so you asked me to talk about just a couple of them. But we don't, we pursue excellence. We want to be good at it, but don't stop there. You got to do those other things too. You got to network. People need to know who you are, and so that's one of those tendencies we fail not to network and things like that.
If a woman knows she needs to ask, she can really in advance prepare how she's going to ask. If she knows up front, whatever I want, I need to ask for it. This gives her time to ask in a polite, gracious way and still get the point across.
Yeah, but not
let's
too.
Say if she's being, let's say she's being offered a job. Should she take the first offer?
Never. No. You can always ask for more. She can always ask for more.
And how should she say that?
I give you an example because whatever I write about, I've tried to have already done it. When I had a certain job, I said, I need 6 figures for this. Well, the former person that didn't have 6 figures. That person also didn't have my experience. And I knew where we were trying to go. And I knew I had the experience to take that company to where they were trying to go. So I asked for that, but I also asked for other perks because I know I needed that for how I work. And so you just ask, you say,
but here's my question. Yeah.
Mm-hmm,
I want to know, how did you ask that?
I said, they said, what is your salary requirement? Here's what I need to come and do this a full-time job. And so that I'm not distracted trying to make up the difference in some side gig or whatever. And I know what this job requires. And I'm almost certain I can bring such savings to the environment until it's not even going to, the net impact is not even going to be that, but doesn't matter, because here's the deal. This is what it's worth. I'm a CPA, with 20 years experience, blah, blah, blah. This is the market range for that. So that's why you have to know what the market range is for that position. And if they say, well, that's a bit much, well, then let's negotiate something else. Why don't I just work 4 days a week? Or why don't I work a limited number of hours? Really? Because look, I'm still trying to get what I want, because I have, this is the space I want to be in. So one of my jobs, that was what we worked out. I worked 4 days a week and I got the 6 figures because that's what I wanted.
Because you ask, but Deborah, what if in this particular case, they ask you first what you wanted? What if they had come to you and said, this is what we are offering you for this position. Yeah. This is your package.
Yes.
How do you negotiate that?
Well, I'll say, listen, let me ask you. Because
they gave you their offer first.
Right. No, yes, it doesn't matter. You say that, you know what, this is what I can offer for that. Or, because listen, never just roll over and offer the full-time thing if it's a lower rate and they said, this is all the company can do. Why don't we start out then, let me work a limited number of hours and then we can revisit this in 3 months to see how we're doing. And maybe by then the company can do data. But don't ever just like roll over because they don't expect you to. That may even be a test to see how well you negotiate depending on the position, but never accept the first offer. Well, then add some more perks to it. If I can't do this, can I do that? Can I have my own whatever it is that's important to you? You can ask for that as well. Does this include covering my family, the medical? Get something else. There's more to a benefit package than the absolute dollars. So you should know in advance. And plus they should have the range. They always tell you in whatever job announcements that this is the range. And you say, okay, that's the range and the requirement is for a bachelor's, but I have a master's. So that adds a value to it, and I have this. And so you really push on what you can add to the company. My level of experience brings me to this point where I can do this. And let me tell you, when I went to work for a church several years ago, and they were building a awesome cathedral. I negotiated the largest loan ever extended to a church. I know that I knew how to talk to the banks. I had been a former venture capitalist and negotiated deals. And so I thought, okay, I can get this done. And let me tell you, by the time we finished, we had banks literally begging us, fighting to lend us $33 million. You see what I'm saying? So again, you got to perceive that your merchandise is good. It's not based on self-confidence. You know that you're going to add value, that it's the best decision they could ever make is to hire me. You got to believe that. You got to perceive inside where you say, well, I don't know. I don't want to be selling wolf tickets. And you're not selling wolf tickets because first of all, you're asking God all along the way, like word in my mouth, tell me what to ask for. Tell me how to function in this environment. You don't have to worry about, don't fear that they're going to reject you and say, oh, she was terrible for asking for that. And let me tell you, they're not used to women asking. So they will do a double take. When I sat down once with a group, the guys I was asking in this environment for 6 figures. And the guy said, well, now you don't want to be way out here ahead of everybody else. That's not like the norm for this environment. No, that is the norm for this position. How many CPAs, MBAs do you have working here? Okay, excuse me, none. All right, well, then that puts me at an advantage. Look, did I miss something here?
So did you get what you asked for?
Yes. And see, because in my first job out of college, I didn't know to ask. So it was, let me tell you, this was 100 years ago, but they were paying the entry-level accountants $10,000. And they offered me $9,500. Well, I didn't know. I didn't know I could have asked for $10,000 until I heard the other people comparing notes and the MBA people got 12. I'm like, whoa. So I need to get an MBA. Now that was way back like in the early 70s. But that's, you just got to know. That's why you need to know what the position pays, have some sense of range. Do your research. You don't go in cold like that. You research the job responsibilities. You align what you can bring to the table with respect to fulfilling those and beyond. And so there's no need to let fear keep you from asking.
You're listening to Excellent Living with Cheryl Martin. Our guest today is best-selling author and leadership coach, Deborah Smith Pegues. She has sold more than 2 million books worldwide. Deborah's on a mission to empower women to embrace with confidence our God-given natural strengths as leaders. In her book, Lead Like a Woman, Deborah identifies 12 traits that women should embrace and 12 that could hinder our effectiveness. Let's return to the conversation.
Another habit that women have, downplaying skills and accomplishments. That's a problem area as well, isn't it?
Well, yes, because
Playing
we don't,
small.
Oh yeah, we think we need to play small because it makes us more humble, and we've been socialized to really have these affectations, I call them, of humility. It's like, okay, because girls can't be haughty, and nobody wants to be haughty. Even the Bible says, "Let another man praise you and not your own mouth." But you don't have to praise yourself. You can do it in such a way where I'm glad my team we were able to do this. Blah 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 blah. We did that, but keep in mind you were the leader of the team, so you don't have to go in with itis. I did this. I did that. But when you have some skills or whatever, and people compliment you on, and you can just say, I was really glad I was able to do that. Or let's say you're a speaker and you make a great speech and they'll say, oh, Deborah, that was so great. You don't go, oh, it wasn't me, it's just God. You can say, oh, I'm really passionate about that. When I talk about confidence and people say, oh, that was really inspiring, I said, well, I know what it feels like not to have that kind of confidence. And it's just been my joy to be free from that that sense of inadequacy. And I love sharing that. You see, so that's what I don't have to downplay it. I can acknowledge the compliment. I can say this is what I bring to the table and still be humble. I really can.
I'm glad you brought up humility, because I think there are Christian women who believe downplaying their skills and accomplishments is a sign of humility because they don't want to brag.
No, that's false humility. Because, if inside you really, really feel good about what you've done, listen, when I wrote the book, 30 Days to Taming Your Tongue, and I've sold over 1 million copies, I mean, that's like unusual. And, there are authors who sold a lot more. But I'm thinking, when people say, how'd you do that? I said, listen, I messed up with my mouth and God took it and turned it into a message. That mess up, he turned it to a message, and a message that not only brought financial gain, but it helps a lot of people. So I'm not downplaying that. Like, I don't know. I just got lucky. I don't believe in luck, first of all, but I don't downplay that. It's like, I don't even know that idea of writing that book came straight from God. As most of probably 90% of my books, the ideas came straight from God, and the others, the publisher said, well, you write this book, but you don't have to downplay your skills. You don't have to follow how we've been culturalized and socialized to think that if we're humble, that makes us more ladylike, because you're not trying to lead with gender. You're trying to show that you are a person who is deserving of authority and that you're in charge. And you don't have to go around saying that I'm in charge.
How do you advise women to support other women in leadership?
Well, by opening doors for each other. If you have an opportunity, and Cheryl, you and I share that. We try to help each other with opportunities that may come up, or even if it's not an opportunity, ways that we can be personally better. Sure, as they say now, show up your best self. I don't know where that expression came from, but we have to just support each other. Open doors. Don't be haters. Don't be critical, because women tend to be critical of each other. But you look for ways that you can add value, and you don't have to have that scarcity mindset that says, if I help her, I'm going to be less than. Listen, nobody can thwart God's purpose for your life. All the days ordained for you are already written. Promotion comes from God, so nobody's going to diminish you. If you help somebody else, it's not going to put out your light. That's what that's what Bishop Blake used to say. If you light somebody else's candle, it's not going to put out yours. And so I just believe in doing that. I believe you want to plant that kind of seed. And I've reaped the benefit of that, really. Just, open doors, tell somebody else about somebody, and just watch how God works with that.
Deborah, how important is it for women to really understand the male mindset, especially as a leader, as an executive?
Well, and we don't want to make a generalization and paint men with a broad brush, but you have to understand some things. And this is what I like to tell women. When men say it's just business, it's not personal, they mean that. They have this ability to compartmentalize their emotions. Well, that's them. That's fine. And we don't have to show up as the cold maiden, but we also need to understand that men are visual, and that as a woman in business, you don't want to dress in a way that's distracting or cause your message not to be taken seriously. Shantae Feldhahn, by the way, who endorsed my book, she said that, and she has a book called The Male Factor, and she talks about the fact that they had done some studies. They had a woman dressed kind of alluringly, and then they tested the comprehension level of the men. And then they brought in another one, or maybe that in another environment, they did it differently. But the retention rate was just not good. So what do you want to be known for? What kind of legacy do you want to have? What do you want to leave people with? The idea that you had a great figure, or that you had some great empowering information. So even so many things in the chapters that I talk about how to understand the male mindset, even at home. You don't want to dictate to the man, but you need to ask for domestic help. That you don't have to do all the chores. The studies show that women are still doing too many of the chores. So you just learn how to ask and say, here's a list of things that have to be done. Let's see if we can get together and negotiate and agree on who's going to do what. You can do that. That's not bossy. That's saying, I need help. I'm giving you an opportunity to decide which ones you want to do, and we'll negotiate this. That's
Have
power.
Have you found in the workplace that when a woman is the executive or the manager or supervisor, how she relates to men may require a different approach than how she would relate to the women?
Well, I can tell you what Pastor Bam Crawford says. She's a popular minister in our area here, and she's nationally known. But she says she deals with the men in her congregation, and she has lots of strong men who are in law enforcement and all of that. She said, I still deal with them with tenderness. And I am their leader. I am their pastor. And she said, I watch how I ask them to do something. What we got to understand, especially I would say this as women of color, you don't have to demand. You need to learn how to request, because men actually like feeling like they helped you. And so you can say, I'm going to, could you kindly do this? Or would you please do this? Or I'm going to need you to do this. And Johnny, can you take that on? I believe you would be very effective in that area over there. Well, see, you're still telling them what to do. But it's how you say it. That's why you get God's words. And sometimes, I practice that a lot. I've been married 42 years. I don't dictate to my husband, like, can you do this? Can you do that? I'll just say, could you kindly, or would you mind? I would really appreciate if you could do blah, blah, because appreciation is at the core, that need for at the core of every man, whether it's in the corporate workspace or at home. And so I try to make sure I do this in a way that incentivizes them to say, yes, I want to do that. They like that kind of validation of thinking that I need them. And it's not manipulative. It isn't. It's just understanding the male mindset.
When a woman sets out to have a successful career in her field, do you believe that a woman should go in with always this mindset, I want to be number one, I want to be the best, I'm aiming for that particular position? Is that the best way to approach it?
Well, I've never approached it that way. Honestly, I've never. And I was thinking about this the other day, and I thought, hey, maybe I should have done that, but I don't think so. I've never targeted a spot and say, I'm going to do whatever I can to get there. If it's something I want to do, I'll just ask the person in charge, what do I need to do to be positioned for that? Or if I want to do it, because I so strongly believe that promotion comes from God, but I know that he uses people. So my thing is to just get close enough to the people who are in charge so that they see I'm a natural for that. And then I get close enough I watch that spot, watch the people who are in it. What do they bring to the table? The person who was in it, or they may be creating a new place for you, but I don't believe in just really that climb the ladder to that spot right there, because that's the goal, that's the end all. Because you may find as you get near there that you've put your ladder against the wrong building. That's not where God was calling you to be in the first place. So the most important thing is I want to make sure that that's the place I'm supposed to be, so that I'm not only financially fulfilled, but it's emotionally fulfilling and rewarding to me.
And I would think as well, making sure that you do the job with excellence that you have been hired to do.
Yeah. Well, women tend for the most part, we pursue excellence to a fault. You know, we really do try to work hard and be really good at it, to the point where we are almost looking for perfection and have no patience with anybody who's making us look bad. I found myself doing that in one job because I'm like the first woman in this spot, whatever. And I had a guy I hired who wasn't very good at it. And I'm thinking, you make me look bad. And I end up looking at the staff, and it's like everybody who made a mistake is like, oh, they're gonna make me look bad. You know, and I want everybody to think I'm a superstar over here because I'm Black and I'm a woman and I'm a dark-skinned woman. I gotta make sure
you have 3 strikes against you.
I got these 3 strikes. I gotta make sure I win. So don't y'all make me look bad. You see, but I had to stop that because it was causing everybody to be stressed. You know, if there's the slightest error, just, you know, incurred my wrath. I'm like, you know what, this isn't going to incentivize the team. And so once we just sat down and we just said, okay, we keep making these errors. And I realized probably I was creating an environment where they were so scared they were going to mess up that they were messing up. And so when we finally gave space for people to make an error and for us to correct it and to talk about it, it became something we could almost laugh about. You see what I'm saying? And so you don't want to be that person that just like, no, I got to have it this way at all costs because I'm trying to get to that spot at the top. That's
Deborah Pegues, I am so glad you wrote this book, Lead Like a Woman, Gain Confidence, Navigate Obstacles, and then Empower Others. Thank you so much.
Deborah Smith Pegues shared great insights for women from her personal experience holding high-powered positions in corporate America. She strongly encouraged women on these 2 broadcasts to embrace our uniquely feminine qualities while striving to succeed in our circles of influence. Deborah is a CPA, speaker, and the author of 18 books, including Lead Like a Woman. You can learn more about Deborah and order her resources when you visit her website, confrontingissues.com. That's confrontingissues.com. We invite you to join our email list when you visit our website, excellentliving.org. You'll receive information for attending Cheryl's live monthly Zoom session for women, first Wednesdays. Again, just go to excellentliving.org. Next time, our relationship coach, Dr. Johnny Parker, joins Cheryl for his monthly visit. I'm Doris McMillan, reminding you that excellent living is doing all of life God's way because it's the best way.